Hey, welcome back to the Broker's Voice. I'm excited today. I've got two gentlemen from the Heartland that are here to join me. I am joined today by Colton Storla and Skip Lowe with North Risk Partners in the great state of Iowa. Gentlemen, welcome to the Broker's Voice.
Glad to be here.
All
Thanks,
right.
Andy.
You bet. We're going to get, this is going to be an opportunity for your audience to get to know you a little bit, but we're also going to throw some golden nuggets at them at the same time. Skip, I'm going to start with you. We're going to go with the elder statesman here. I know the audience is curious to know this. I know I was when I learned this. Let's let the audience get to know the Skip Lowe before he became a benefits advisor.
Yeah, well, I would like to call myself a jack of all trades, but I started off. My first job, I worked in a restaurant for 4 years. Loved it. It was a great way to meet people, and started in the janitorial department. Worked my way up to being a waiter, and then I ran a dry cleaner for a while, and then I started building swimming pools, and then I sold railroad locomotives, and then I got into chemical business, legal chemicals. Let's be clear there, but I was working with industrial cleaners and with manufacturers. And then I got into this thing with insurance. But behind all of that, the real strings that were attached to my heart were music. And so I was very passionate as a young person. I wanted to be a musician. And I lived the rock and roll dream. And so I started off playing when I was the ripe age of 12 years old, saw my first drum set, said that's what I want to be, and figured I needed to have a responsible gig because I ultimately wanted to get married and have children. So kind of had two worlds in me, and so I ended up being a professional musician there for a while. You're like, how'd you do all that in your 56 years on the planet? But it can be done. People are extraordinary when they're driven by things they love. Then I was a studio musician, so recorded 25 records, played for thousands of people, and still play today. I'm a teacher and launching a music school here in Grinnell where I live, and so you've got to have things that are, in your heart that you're passionate about. And for me, being a musician was a great training ground for being an insurance agent. You're like, how can those two tie together? Well, you learn how to stay up all hours of the day to hone your craft in. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's certainly grace under pressure because you're going to be hit from all angles on questions, and it's attention to detail. So I just felt like insurance was a good segue for me, believe it or not. And I love solving problems, and music is the ultimate of problem solving, especially when you're creating it, because you're having to come up with all kinds of formulas in your head and being able to put that out there for people to hear. So just had a blessed life, and still, again, pursuing my musical dreams, not as a professional, but being able to hand down the craft that I've worked so hard at. So that's the quickest story I could come up with, Andy, but that's my background.
I got to tell you, man, for being a former drummer and working in this industry post-pandemic, you look sharp today, man.
Yeah, well, as Colton would say, you got to be casket ready in this business because you just never know what's going to be your last day.
So I know the audience wants to know this, Skip. What's your go-to band?
My go-to band? Oh, geez, that's a heavy one, but I'm a Rush fanatic. I love Neil Peart. He's an ultimate poet, scientist, and I try to be him all the time.
Awesome.
So,
awesome.
Great guy.
Well, Colton, I'm gonna bring it back over to you quick for your background, because
Sure.
I would say you probably you come from a more traditional approach, right? Being the hometown kid from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But talk about your childhood, because very similar to mine. You were a multi-sport athlete growing up in the hometown. Instead of whacking drumsticks, you were whacking linebackers. So let's talk about your athletic career here.
Sure. Yeah. I've got a short career, but yeah, going back to, being a child and, high school, played all the sports from, football, basketball, track, baseball, wrestling, you name it. But my main sport was football. I was a running back at Marion High School, went on to play at Coe College. And really fell into, the love of strength conditioning, health and wellness, really early on just with my parents. They always, worked hard, not only, owning a construction business, but they worked hard at the gym. I remember, growing up and going to the gym with them. And, I always asked, like, when can I go work out with dad? When can I go work out with dad? So, I've always just loved sports and working out, health and fitness, things of that nature. And I worked a lot of construction just throughout my years, just with my parents owning their own business. So they instilled, that hardworking, work ethic very early on, which transferred over to sports and everything that I did. Then after college, I was on a path to become a college strength conditioning coach. Went to the University of Iowa and trained under Chris Doyle in the football program there. And that was a really good experience, not only professionally, but personally too. It was a grind for that season, but then afterwards, I kind of had a come to Jesus moment on, do I want to keep pursuing that? Because it ultimately meant that I had to get more schooling and potentially move, get more experience. And one of my mentors that I had at Co-College actually recommended that I reach out to a gentleman that I knew throughout college, just working odd jobs in construction and things like that. And he was the person that hired me, Greg Dunn. He kind of joked throughout my college years, like, hey, if you keep working this hard for me, just doing odd jobs, you can come work for me. Out of college, I was like, yeah, Greg, whatever. I don't even know what the heck you do. And then sure enough, I was pushed to, just give it a shot, and had lunch with them and asked for a job. And I think within a week or two, I got my health and life license and dove in right away. And now it's 6.5 years in the business.
Well, I want to give people a perspective. So I think you're downplaying your athletic career a little bit. Like, you were a pretty well-known running back in your neck of the woods. Now, you stand how tall?
I'm about 5'10", 5'11" on a good day.
And what was your playing weight?
I was about 195.
And I think offline you told me you had a nickname as a running back.
So in high school, it was the Little Tank. That was the local news channel. Coined that phrase. I did have 7 touchdowns in a game that broke Kerry Bender's record, which he also went to Marion and Co-College and then played for the Buffalo Bills. And I actually know him personally, so it was kind of fun to rub in his face.
That's awesome. That's a great. This is the stuff people want to know. The thing about our industry is nobody got in it by design, right? For most people, and I think we're so afraid to talk about what we did before because we don't want people to, we think it's going to detract from our ability to win business. But it's these stories, I think, that really let people resonate with us. And this is what I want to talk to you guys about today. You guys are doing a lot of team selling at North Risk Partners, which is great. And what I really love about the concept of what you're doing from looking above, is, Skip, you've been in the industry 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. Colton, you've been in the industry 6. And to have that different, those 2 different perspectives on our industry right now, I think is so important. So Skip, I'm going to go to you first. Talk to us about, you have been in this industry for quite a while. It would be easy to just say, you know what, I'm going to keep doing the way I always done it. But there was something inside of you said, no. There has got to be a different way to do this. There's a big problem here we have to solve. When did that hit you?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You got 2 ways to go when you kind of get into the elder statesman wave of life that you mentioned earlier. But, for me, it was probably 5 years ago. And I had desperately tried to put together community-owned health plans. I'm going to just rob that statement or that acronym that's out there now. But I'd worked primarily in my business career with promoting providers and healthcare in Iowa. And, my moment of truth was really 5 years ago. I started thinking about merging because I was, Swiss Army knife here. I was dealing with HR and the books and just trying to run a business. And I was, the single producer. And so there's just a lot on my plate. And I'm like, I've got so many things that I want to do in my career and solve. And so it was one of those things where I was like dreaming about, are there community-owned health plans out there? Are there new ways of doing business? Because I felt like a comedian that ran out of material. I mean, people say, oh, Eddie Murphy was hilarious. And yeah, he had some good hits after, he decided to get out of stand-up, which he probably does a little bit, but that's not his forte now, right? And so I just felt like I climbed every rung of the ladder. We skinny down networks. We saw with the ACA, massive amount of carriers that just got out of the business. And so folks we have some great partnerships with, and it was just like it was stale. And I'm an artist. And so I have this, creativity gene that I just like, I've got to get out of this. It's a rut, and a rut is a grave without any ends. And so as I started getting more and more in towards the merger side of things, I felt that I was compelled because I'm not a technical genius. There's a lot of new things that are out there for ways of communicating. This being obviously an ideal opportunity here today to talk to you and answer your questions. But I just felt like I was the comedian without the material that I needed. I was out of the rungs of the ladder, and I also felt like I would go into people's offices and just pull that string out of my neck, and I had a talk track. Hey, how are the kids doing? How is your golf game? How is life? How was your vacation? Great. Here is your renewal. Goodbye. And I'd had enough, and I just kind of said, this is what we're going to do. And it was a nerve-wracking time to merge our business, but I can fill you in more. I want to get beyond the question you're asking, but how Colton and I became affiliated, because it was just kind of a one of those magical moments where things came together. It was my achy breaky heart, going, what am I going to do? I can't do this anymore. It's just killing me that I don't have any information that I can really share, because it's crazy. And I know you hear brokers all the time the same story. It's just like I was just done with the same crap.
I think it's good for some veterans to hear that, because it's never too late to reinvent yourself. And I think one of the good things I see from my position today is we have a lot of people who've been out there for a while doing it, been around for 20 plus years, and they're going, I still got some years to go, but I got to do it differently if I'm going to have some success. So I think that was great advice for those folks in that position. Now, Colton, you're coming at it from a completely different angle. And what I love about what you have done, it's not like you've been in the industry for 6 years, but in the business world for 25. No, you're a younger advisor who's been in the business for 6 years. And what I love about that generation, millennial, Gen Z, whatever you want to call it, is they're the first generation that's coming in going, why do we do it this way? And I'd love to have your approach for the younger producers, because I think the training in this industry is outdated. It's messed up. What made you come in and go, doesn't make any sense?
Yeah, I mean, definitely on the training side of things, you go into this industry and there's not a, being a benefits advisor 101 book. You take your health and life license, and then, in some cases you just kind of get the phone book thrown at you to try and drum up business and things of that nature. But we had an older gentleman in the office when I first started that he was retiring. So I took over, a handful of his smaller accounts with Blue Cross Blue Shield, and then there's some other retirements and just, book shifting, and then, selling my own, benefits too, directly with new clients. And, really probably 2 or 3 years went by, and I'm just like, okay, deductibles when I first got in the business were $500, and now it's, $2,000 as the best plan. And it was just, again, skinny down networks, and it just wasn't a sustainable model. Especially here in Iowa, we've got very little choices when it comes to options. You got Blue Cross, you got United, and there was just like a couple level funded plans with, All Savers or Aetna or National General at the time. And there just really wasn't any options. I'm like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And, I really wasn't getting any education. I started reading, online, Benefits Pro, and then I started, following some of the other advisors that were constantly being, quoted or recognized, and I started following them on LinkedIn, and then I just started connecting with various people just to have a conversation like, what are you talking about doing? Because I know that there's got to be a better way of doing this, and I knew it was in the self-funded, realm of things, and I never really self-funded at all. So I was glad to have met Skip, because he's been self-funding for several years. And now it's just, trying to find various, cost containment or point solutions to, connect to a self-funded plan to ultimately, reduce on this, frequency and severity of claims of the plan. Instead of talking about high deductible health plans or HMOs and things like that, because, that just wasn't going to be an end game or a sustainable model, like I mentioned.
Yeah, and I give you a lot of credit because I think a lot of advisors come in this industry and expect the training to be handed to them. And you took a different approach, a very similar approach to me, which is like, okay, I got to go seek my own answers. I'm going to have to reach out to people and figure this thing out on my own. And I'm glad, credit to you to do that at such an early point in your career, because I don't think very many would take that time and that effort to do that. So that's why you're having the success you're having today. So let's talk about this. And I don't want to make you guys give away the secret sauce here, but you guys are in a market that's dominated by very few carriers, right? And there's a lot of employers out there. We'll call Iowa a rural market. I'm in Wisconsin, but outside of Madison, Milwaukee, Green Bay, probably say the same thing. For the if there are employers out there who don't believe they have options, what are your thoughts? Like, what needs to go into an effective health insurance plan? I'll let any of you, either one, answer it. Colton, you want to go first on that one?
Yeah, I think, first things first is just, convincing the employer that there is a better way, because I think the broker community has done such a good job of just conditioning employers in Iowa that it's either this or, Blue Cross Blue Shield or whatever, and that's your only option. And so just believing that, that there are other options out there, and you don't need to just take on, higher deductibles or limited networks. There's a better way. And so that's, foundational. But then, second step is, getting them into that, self-funded arrangement. So then they have that, control over their plan, and the transparency to know where their cost drivers are, because employers just don't know where their costs are, where they lie. As I think forget who mentioned this, but they're like, we just felt like we're writing a big check to said carrier, and then not really knowing what the value of that carrier or what they're delivering to their people. Are we overpaying? Are we underpaying? Do our employees like our plan, dislike our plan? So, getting them into that self-funded arrangement, and then that really just opens up the floodgates, and really anything's possible.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point that the first step is not to sell them on the concept. You have to get them to understand what's going on today, because a lot of employers aren't aware they're not even aware what the problem is. Skip, you said something, or I think Colton said something I want to make sure we hit upon. One reason Colton wanted to team up with you is you had an expertise in self-funding. Mm-hmm. How long have you been selling self-funded health insurance plans?
Yeah. Well, this is a general date, but I believe my first self-funded health plan I sold was in January of 1997, and I was scared to death.
That's important. I wanted you to say that, because here's why.
Because I was 4 years old.
one Colton was in pre-K.
Yeah, he was using a real bathroom by then, so we're all good.
The little tank was emerging at age 4.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of advisors go out and they now want to be disruptive, and so they latch on to self-funding, right? Because that's a vehicle to help you do that, but they don't have a good grasp of it. And they then go tell everybody they need it, which is a dangerous slope. And I think I wanted people to hear, you've been selling self-funding for 25 years.
Yeah.
That's important to know, because you've been around the block, you've seen it, you've done it, not just somebody who has heard about it a week ago and is now out to tell everybody about it. What I would love for you to explain, and Colton, I'll bounce it back to you too, but Skip, you used a phrase earlier, community-owned health plans. The heck are you talking about?
Sure. Well, it goes back to my early aspirations, and was working with the Iowa Medical Society and the Iowa Medical Group Managers Association. And so every good philosopher says, what if? And I would work painstakingly long hours to try to help these starving hospital administrators figure out a way they could steal business into their front door from their competitors. And so we did it through steerage, and we launched a program here in Grinnell, where I'm at, in 2005 called One Choice Health. And the concept was that it would be a community health plan where we're supporting the economics and the ecosystem of our community, because if the money stays here, it stays off of Wall Street, and people have just a better quality of life. And so this whole idea, again, I had this dream. It just took a lot longer to get there than I thought, and that's what perseverance is all about, right? But the idea for me is to try to figure out, I would be a winner as a broker and a consultant if I was to tap into the culture, understand their challenges, because they're all the same. Let's face it. These hospitals are starving for cash. They're starving for people to buy in from the community. A lot of these communities in Iowa are transient. I mean, we've done a wonderful job at draining our youth out of our small towns and put them to shiny colleges, and we've dismantled our manufacturing and turned our farms into giant corporations. And so I was on a mad streak, as well as just a cause of how we can make this happen. And so we were successful, and we did bring a large carrier in the state of Iowa that was employer-centric as well as provider-centric, so we could have all the people at the same side of the table to talk about what our challenges are and how we do solve those. We found that we weren't able to obtain or attract a lot of the smaller employers in these communities, and that was really the missing piece. I could do these on these larger groups if I could get their attention, but self-funding was just that avenue to do so, and getting a product that was able to plug into smaller employers, which is now the market is changing drastically. Level funding, and back in my day, 25 years ago, self-funding worked really well for smaller employers, and then we kind of had a disaster on there. So I really made sure that I was educating myself on what type of contract that they buy, if it's a 24/12 or a 12/18, and structure it with ag accommodation or whatever. Make sure the terms are there, and making sure that the stop loss carrier was in line with the TPA, that was a pay-as-we-pay type of mentality. So all of this vast work of working with, maybe larger employers and trying to get these community hospitals to buy into that, I had a limited success, but we just didn't see what we're seeing now, which is a huge evolution and advancement of these ideas across the country. I'm just grateful to be in the communication age, times a billion here, it seems like, where we're able to hook up with these people and talk to them and network what has worked for them in these community-owned health plans. So now I see the next evolution happening in Iowa, and Iowa has historically been conservative as far as the decisions are made. Colton pointed out earlier that the broker community's done a really good job at making sure they stay where they're at, and the providers. I mean, let's face it, I've had conversations with them, and I said, hey, we've got this idea, and they've looked at me and said, I'm sorry, but the Blues or Uniteds are in the right to screw me. You haven't. And so there's that immediate obstacle in their mind. And so it's been a slow, gut churning process to now we're at the point where we're actually having success with these things, where they are identifying with the fact they're looking around and seeing the shuttered doors. They're seeing, with the post-pandemic world, the hospitals are broke. But it's an exciting time, and I don't know if that really fully engages your question, but that's really how I started in the self-funded business, was able to go ahead and create these community-owned health plans in various spots, but they were usually with larger employers, and now we're opening the floodgates where these products are available for the smaller employers.
Yeah, I think what self-funding is a vehicle, right? It's not the destination. Yep. It's just a vehicle that lets you do what you really want to do. And I'm going to spin it now to you, Colton, to kind of do a part two. Skip talked about the fact that small towns get hit by the loss of families and young people who end up moving to the big cities for the bigger opportunities. And you guys really believe at the crux of creating a strong community is good healthcare, good health insurance. So Colton, talk to us about how the heck a health insurance plan or healthcare can actually bring a community together. How does it actually keep dollars in the community?
Yeah, I mean, every community has, a health system or health care of some sort, and they've got employers or people, and then you got the insurance piece. And I feel like, years ago, they were all just kind of going up against each other. Employers were ticked off at health insurance carriers, raising their rates, and then you got the actual insurance side of things. Carriers trying to get deeper discounts, and then you got, hospital systems that, want higher reimbursements, and everyone's just kind of working against each other. And then, I just kind of see it as, we all need each other. And so we're kind of taking the approach that let's all sit at the same table and have aligned incentives between all of us and all parties. We can all make I'm not against making a good, reasonable profit, and we all should, but let's make it transparent. and let's just, talk about it and, get the deals worked out. Because at the end of the day, we all need each other, like I said.
Well, I think what you're getting at too, Colton, is in these communities, right? You often have not only employers in town, you've got a local hospital. You have maybe the county seat, you have the town, you have the school district, and they're all struggling to get people to move into town, right? Equals employees. And if they all would work together and work with the local provider, the local hospital, to create a, high quality care at a fair price, which allows everybody to control their health insurance costs, they now can offer benefits that attract the people they need instead of losing not only talent, but foot traffic if you're the hospital to the big cities, right? You guys talked about this a lot, in Iowa, a small town hospital is losing foot traffic to Iowa City and Des Moines and everywhere else. And if you can keep that talent, the foot traffic, the money in the community, that's good for everybody. So Colton, I'll go you and then you, Skip. If I'm an Iowa employer listening to this and I'm like, okay, I'm in Grinnell, Iowa, or I'm in Webster City, Iowa. And I'm like, okay, I hear what you're saying, guys, but I don't even know where to start. Or I have been told that Wellmark Blue Cross is the only option I should be looking at. And every year I find myself raising deductibles and blah, blah, blah. What advice would you give me? Colton, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, there's just a lot of innovation that's happening, and especially in healthcare, and just, healthcare financing, whether that's, self-funding, level funding, the buzzword of captives. Everybody's talking about captive programs now. So there's multiple ways to, self-fund. It's just trying to find, as you would say, the guide to educate you on this is what the problems are in this healthcare, health insurance, ecosystem. There's a lot of creative solutions that are coming to the marketplace, from people that have just simply put their foot down that said, I've had enough. There's a better way. Or even employers that say, I've had enough. This trajectory that we're on, paying more and getting less every year, I've had enough. So let's, try and go direct to, provider relationships. Let's take the insurance out of things. I think some employers think that's only for, Fortune 500 companies, but, smaller employers are demanding the transparency and control too. So it's been really fun to just kind of piece everything together. So you really just need to find somebody that understands not only the healthcare system and how that kind of operates from, primary care, pharmacy, hospital, advanced imaging, all those kind of cost drivers within a health plan, and then taking the insurance side of things and just, piecing it all together. And you can, create a very successful, high performing plan that your employees love.
Love that. Skip, how about you? What would your advice be?
Well, it's going to be a little different approach. That's why we get along so well every day at our office. But I would do I like to propose a toast moment, ding, 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 ding. And I would stop if I had the opportunity, a room of 5,000 people, and I'd say, I just have a couple things I want to say. And they'd probably all start shaking their head, not this guy again. But I'd ask them, just raise your hand if you love your health insurance. Out of 5,000 people, how many people are going to raise their hand? And then my second question is going to be, hey guys, don't worry. I'm going to put a little money up here. I got $100 bill for anyone that knows what their out-of-pocket maximum is in their health insurance plan. And again, no one's going to know the answer to that question. So the mass confusion, the insurance language that our industry or the insurance industry created is, people are frustrated. It's complex. It's expensive, and so. I've told people, and you've probably been in this situation too, Andy. It's like, what do you do? Like, you tell them like, oh gosh, that, you poor guy, or, how did you end up in that deal? And I think the game changer for me, what we're doing, has been a couple things. One is that making sure I slow down and let them know that, hey, we're going to give you opportunities to make choices. And the first thing that we want to make sure you understand is we're going to let you see all the doctors that you get to see today, because that's always, we can talk about price and quality, but at the end of the meeting, they're going to say, can I see my doctor? So I start off with that. And then I like to show some case studies to them, right? And so I'm starting to get information I thought I'd never receive. I got plenty of data. I could fill up a dump truck full of spreadsheets. But what I was able to finally see that I had not seen and had dreamed of seeing was actually reports of when we've had our navigators reach out to these members and what the results have been, where they've gone to a $0 option for an MRI. The most powerful, the low-hanging fruit, this is how we, I would like to start these conversations, say, we all know prescription drugs are very expensive. They're the biggest driver, but use a case study from just a month ago where an individual said, hey, I'd like to get my Enbrel. You mentioned about this Zero program that you have. Can you help me? So we got them through the system. The Enbrel was coming out of New Jersey, went to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and we were able to get it from New Jersey to Canada and then to their front door. And the difference was $500 a month for that individual. So that patient was saving $6,000. Now they can upgrade their refrigerator, go on that vacation. That's a lot of money. And the employers benefit for this, that they embraced it, believed in me, what I was doing. They saved $54,000. I mean, that's a job in Grinnell where I live. And so, again, a little eclectic of an answer. That's what you get from me, Andy. But, I think that you just got to, make sure these people understand that you're not here to break their experience. You're here to make their experience what they never dreamed it would be and better.
I think what you guys are saying is it's about taking a health insurance plan, local healthcare, and tying it together to impact the local community. And it's a concept nobody thinks about. Yep. And I think that's what it's important for people listening to hear is there is a way to keep the families in town. There's a way to go find good people. And it's by keeping the care in the community, keeping the dollars and the people in the community. It's that simple. And there are answers. If you're not being given the answers, there are answers. Find them. Seek better advice. So last question, guys. It's been an awesome conversation. If somebody's listening in and says, all right, these are my guys. I got 2 guys here. I need them. What is the best way to reach out to you guys?
I'm very active on LinkedIn, otherwise email, phone. So always welcoming, someone to connect with if they want to reach out, ask any questions or, just some education or advice.
Awesome. We're going to put the email addresses, if you guys don't mind, in the show notes on the video so everybody can get them. But guys, I want to thank you. This has been phenomenal. For everybody else listening in, this is what we've been talking about. Do not accept what you've always been told. There are ways to fix your health insurance problem. If you feel like you're losing people, you're losing money, especially if you're within a local community and it's impacting your local community, health insurance and good healthcare can bring the community back together, believe it or not. And Skip and Colton are doing some amazing things in Iowa to make that happen. So guys, one more time, I want to thank you. Everybody else, be good. Leverage what they said.
Thank you, Andy.